The Art of Friendship. Several books have been written on this topic. More still have been written on social skills, others on repairing and restoring relationships. Roger and Sally Horshow gave 70 simple rules for making meaningful connections. How to transform an acquaintance into a friend. How to maintain long-term relationships. Said one writer, friends are hard to come by, hard to keep, and sometimes hard to get rid of. But no matter how many books you read on the art of friendship, something seems to be always missing. Other books are there waiting for you. The Friendship Factor, The Friendship Fix, When Friendship Hurts, The Friendship Crisis, and so books after books. But something is always missing. And not being able to define what is missing, the talk and the writings on friendship quickly slide into cliché, into sentimental stuff and spittle of various kinds. Perhaps the missing part is our evasion of that question that Jesus put to Simon Peter. Are you really my friend? The art of friendship is in the pursuit of the authentic, the commitment to showing the world what real friendship is. Friends remain friends, or they can become unfriends as an outcome of several factors. We put conditions on our friendships. We look to the amount of criticism and complaining that a friendship can stand. And there is the amount of collaboration and commonage that goes with friendship. Is there collaboration here? Or sometimes friendship can be like the cud of a cow. You know, the cow's cud remains there, and every now and again it chews it over again. Sometimes our friendships can be like that. They've disappeared, but then we bring them back, and the memory and the nutrient of previous times come back and regenerates good feelings for us, we hope. Then there are the compatibilities. Compatibility seems to be an important part to affirm the harmony in our relationships. Friendship, friendship, friendship. Will it give you the courage to keep growing, to stay fresh, to be playful, as well as the courage to cope with the stresses that sometimes seem too much for a particular moment? Graham Little, in his book on friendship, made several discoveries. He said, the first thing I discovered was this: not everybody is into friendship. Many distrust it so much that they go in for it only in a limited way. The second thing he discovered is that people don't always have the friendships they claim or imagine they had. And the third thing, some friendships, he said, can open up a magic world, jumping together of the heart. Some friendships can take you out of yourself and make you more aware of yourself and more adept at managing what I call, and what other people have sometimes called, the porcupine syndrome. You know, the porcupine syndrome says, come closer, but not too close. Good friendships, he said, can become very nasty and treacherous, but we need to find another way. Friendship. We are taught to see it as a characteristic standing above many other forms of relationships, something good in itself. But some friendships are not good, though we remain tangled with them, into them. Friendship needs to name its context. It is about the characteristics that occur in a relationship within that context, within that community, within that culture, or between cultures. Friendship, in whatever context, carries feelings, emotions, intentions, and moods. And if feelings are just lukewarm, if emotions are ambivalent, if intentions are conflicted, if moods are tangled and entangling, entrapping and enmeshing, then friendship is like the cold ashes left in the fireplace. The ashes are there, but they no longer bring much warmth, nor excitement, nor gladness, even as we turn them over. So Jesus said to Simon Peter, make your friendship real in your relationships. Make your friendship come alive in the context of your relationships. Yes, he could have said, let your best be for your friend. And he might have gone on further and said, show the world what real friendship is. That was the real requirement that was laid on Simon Peter, and of course the same requirement is laid on us. It was Khalil Gibran, spelt with a G, who wrote, let your best be for your friend. But who then is my friend? For whom will I give my best? We often have a spiraling experience in our friendships. Imagine something like a clock spring. Some people sit right out on the outer edge of the spring. They are friends, perhaps for specific, maybe superficial conversations. Other friends are wound in close to the core. And some friends are very much core friends. But then something can happen. And even your core friend can be flung out from the core, out onto the outer rim of the spiral. And we may lose contact altogether. Sometimes that makes us very angry, confused. We assumed we had a particular position in the spiral of a person's friendships, but something happens and we're now on the outer. We therefore see that friends can acquire energy, high energy or low energy, a whisper of energy or no energy. And confusion is often not far away. If you assume the energy flowing from the friend is not the energy you desire, then the energy of positive friendship can very quickly change into discontentment, into anger, to crisscrossing of compromise and bargaining, to manipulation and bribery of various kinds. So the expectation of positive energy, friendships, can change to negative energy. Or they can fluctuate between high desire and low reward, between strong demand and an energy tank which is long since empty. The energy tank you once thought was there, flowing towards you with a lot of energy, can sometimes be so empty. Or it can be flowing elsewhere. And that's where sometimes our jealousy, our anger, and our self-defeating activity invade what was once a promising relationship. So the biblical story today conveys the idea that Judas Iscariot was Judas's friend, but he sold him out. Judas got a very bad press for that over the generations. And he became known as somewhat the despicable member of the team, a fellow with mixed emotions and mixed motives, a fellow who would sell out his friend. That was bad enough. But he could not see, did not have the insight to see how that behavior would be destructive on himself. Well, we don't talk too much about traitors, do we? It seems such an extreme word. But we see plenty of instances where our friendships can be sacrificed without realizing the costs that are involved. What is a friendship worth? We see that when we need to ask a prior question, was there a friendship there in the first place? Is there a friendship? And if there is there any mutuality to it? Is there any common empathy in it? One man once described his situation. He says, "I'm the only one throwing any wood on the fire." He meant that he saw himself as the only one contributing to the friendship. The other person was sitting back expecting or feeling entitled to what was coming their way, but not doing anything to keep the fire burning. So Jesus asked the penetrating question of Simon Peter, "Simon, dear friend, are you really my friend?" He knew that Simon was just a little bit wobbly. "Are you really my friend?" And Simon, of course, replied, "You know I am your friend." Jesus then confronted him with the words, "Then show your friendship. Show the world your friendship." But we get confused. Who is our real friend? Real friendship is the way the delight and the pleasure of our inner world comes out into the outer world and mingles for a time with the other person's magic and delight and pleasure that comes out of them. If only that would happen more. Real pleasure, of course, is the way you behave with each other, the way you talk about each other, the way you gossip about your friend. Because real friendship is like gold in the 21st century. It can be very hard to find real friendship. There are many imitations, many alloys, but the genuine article, real friendship, can joyously present itself to you. Yes, albeit like the wind that blows over you, and then it is gone. Yes, like surrounding you and touching you in a poetic place in your heart, like the softening colours of the autumn leaves. There it is. It happens. It can happen. And then it is gone. I wrote about it once using those beautiful words of Helen Stevenson. She said, "It is like an exploding star, falling to the earth, splintering with many different lights." So it goes without saying that friendship, real friendship, is not yours by entitlement, not yours by contumacy, or rerunning your past woundings into your present wants. Real friendship is that red wheelbarrow carrying a load of faith in yourself. Faith also in pursuing the majestic, colourful depths of that which is in between us. Faith in the liberation of something that unwraps the marvellous gifts of freedom, curiosity, and mutual enhancement. That's friendship. But friendship can be very weak. Every weakness can suddenly invade our friendships. Or it can arise out of strong needs. I need. Men become friends with men, but become very awkward or confused in their friendships with women. Or women clump together with women but don't know who of them can be trusted. Is it possible to be friends with men? And can such relationships be enjoyed without being disastrous? The Catholic Church in this last week has taken action to send out 80,000 letters to parishes and people to have them protest against same-sex marriages. People in same-sex relationships are in search of close relationships, close friendships, and the confirmation of that friendship in a marriage commitment. So we ask the question, should the heterosexual population or the celibate Catholic priesthood assume such high ground as to preclude the homosexual population from their friendships and their commitment to long-term marriage? Marriage, so we assume, is only for heterosexuals. To open it to homosexuals, so the newspaper quoted the letter, would open society to great dangers. Homosexuals will undermine marriage and society. Whatever your stance on these matters, let me ask you to look at some of the known facts. Marriage is usually supposed to be the progression from friendship to marriage to children, and friendship between children and parents to grandparents, grandchildren. The reality is this: large numbers of marriages break down. Friendships peter out or are negated. The once married develop hostility and distrust. More than that, there's often little sign of friendship, but a great deal of violence. Little acknowledgement of even any agreement between the people concerned. How many people tell me, for sure, we would like a good friendship, but we had no idea that marriage would show how incompatible we would become. He snores, and I complain. That's what she says. And he says, I can't help snoring, but she could control her complaints, which are now no longer about my snoring, but are about 17 other issues as well. And so he goes on. I married my friend, he said, but I didn't know that she would have no capacity to be a soulmate later in life, because she goes off and does her thing. Marriage, the high incidence of domestic violence, the large number of children who find their home unbearable. So with a calm and reasonable mind, who would say that the heterosexual marriage is the only way for people to live together, when conventional marriage is often dysfunctional, destructive, litigious, and lethal? In any sensible appraisal, we recognise that men have been living with men for centuries, in different contexts. Whether these relationships are sexual or not is really none of my business. But since we all know homosexuality has been part of the life of men and women for generations, we can surely safely say, with some better maturity, that there is no real observable sign that this behaviour will destroy everybody's marriage, society, and the future. That's what the article, the letter said. Without this, there would be no human beings and no future without a heterosexual relationship. The Catholic Church has had men living with men in monasteries and women living with women in convents. By their own reports, some have reported that those relationships have become sexual. But when the claim is made that same-sex arrangements will mean there will be no human race, we have to draw the line at that, because it raises the anomaly too of the celibacy of the Catholic priesthood. When all this is said and done, the Catholic hierarchy as an institution is really in no position to be imposing a view on our sexual practices, certainly in view of its known record of sexual abuse and the damage it has done to so many children over many years. Priests and bishops who by profession withdraw from the intimacies and all that go with homosexual and heterosexual relationships and the peculiar stresses of children and family life should really disqualify themselves in speaking about all the rest of people who choose to be in such relationships as they'd like to have. So here we're talking today about this wider issue of friendship and whether we can be genuine and exercise a real friendship, whether it's homosexual or heterosexual, or a friendship in which the sexual element is, as it were, in suspension, although in all of our relationships it has to play and does play a part. So today I'm asking the question, what will we do about our friendships? Because we're often very bad at them, all of us. All of us. We have our friends and we lose our friends. We don't keep our friends and we treasure others. We generate this feeling and that. Jesus said to Simon Peter, honour our friendship by showing the world what real friendship is. He was speaking, well, if the words were coming attributed to Jesus, were coming to speak, as it were, to Simon Peter, but being words within the context of the faith, the wider Christian community at that time. He was speaking not only to Simon Peter, he was speaking to the whole generations to come. Honour your friendship by showing the world what real friendship is. Would you please stand? I invite you now to gather round the holy table, to remember that here we are confronted by the sacred presence, who reminds us of the best things that life can give, the great gift of life, and how it might be lived.